back to Mean Green Mania. And fellas, it is March. We have ourselves a bracket. The last time we talked, it was conference championship season. Now it is peak March. The round of 64 is over with. We have results, and it has been a blast so far of a bracket. First off, most importantly, how is everyone's bracket's health doing so far? How are we doing?
They're holding together pretty well. I mean, like we were talking about before the show, with the way that college basketball has gone, it's making for some pretty brackets, the last couple of years.
Hey, mine isn't doing too bad. I think I have like maybe 4 or 5 losses, better than I expect. That Santa Clara Kentucky game kind of screwed me over.
Me too.
But, it's all good.
Me too.
My bracket's in the emergency room, touch and go right now. They don't know if it'll make it. It's tough. But mine was busted immediately. That's how it is every year. You root for the upsets. I don't care about my bracket anymore.
Yeah, I understand. Did you have Ohio State?
Yeah, I did. I did have Ohio State. First game bust, yeah.
I mean, that's a tough first game matchup. TCU and Ohio State were both teams that were red hot coming into the tournament. It's a shame they got put on the 8-9 line to play each other, and it was the first game of the day. So yeah, that's
the 8-9. It's always a tough line to predict.
Yeah, I feel like it's that way every year. They always start with that 8-9 matchup. So like half the brackets in the country busted
are gone.
2 hours into the month.
But March, it's all about upsets. I mean, that's what drives the sport, and we had a couple of them. Most notably, High Point defeats Wisconsin in just an absolute thriller. This was a High Point team that a lot of people were high on. I know I had High Point in my bracket. Carson, I think you had High Point as well. Who had High Point? You have High Point, John?
I had High Point.
Houston, John? Look, that's why you come and watch Mean Green Mania. That's why you watch Mean Green Mania, for insight from people like us who all picked High Point. Everyone's talking about some Cinderella upset story. Not here. We knew that High Point was like that. Wisconsin was not. Honestly, Wisconsin's not a bad team. High Point, really good. Really good. I mean, they turn people over. They defend the three-point line really well, and they shoot a lot of threes, and they just put the ball in the basket. All 5 of their starters can really get it going from anywhere. And then they got a guy coming off the bench, the man of the hour, Chase Johnston.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it's hard not to talk about the guy. He had only shot 3-pointers. Well, he shot 4 2-pointers during the regular season. He missed all of them.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I honestly do not know.
He's not practicing the 2 in practice. That's
but here you go. Fast break lay. The first one of the year gets it to go. Man, I don't know if y'all watched this game live. Nick Boyd for Wisconsin was jawing the entire game, and then he gets swatted to end it.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. I mean, back-to-back possessions with a Nick Boyd turnover/block, and a sweet win in March for High Point. Just the thoughts on this game overall.
Well, for me personally, I'm going to start off by saying I really like to think about how big of an upset is it really? Because like we were talking about, High Point is clearly, in my opinion, the best of those teams on that 12 line. I thought that they were maybe a little underseeded. I know it's High Point, North Carolina or whatever, and nobody even knew that was in North Carolina.
Yeah.
But like that's a great team over there. They have the recipe over there and the answers to the quiz for the Cinderella, test there. Also, interesting pool. Did you know that Angel Reese's ex plays for High Point?
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Cameron Fletcher?
Yeah. I didn't.
What a pull!
I didn't know that either until I was watching the game and I saw him shooting free throws. And I was like, wait.
I didn't know he was Angel Reese's ex.
Yeah. But
real the hard-hitting, boots on the ground journalism around here.
Yeah, just good pull there. But Chase Johnston, the impressive thing for me wasn't that he hit 4 out of 6 threes. It's the way that he closed out the game. 11 of his 14 points came in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, and can we talk about the logo three?
About to bring it up, man.
My goodness.
Probably going to be the biggest shot of the tournament. Like, look at it at the end because
there was like 25. Well, yeah.
Kentucky shot is kind of.
There might be. We'll talk about that later.
But that you had to shoot it. Chase Johnston.
I mean,
20 shot clock. Yeah, 25 seconds in the shot clock, and you just pulled it because he can.
Shot clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, the net didn't even move. The net didn't move.
There's a reason he only takes threes. I mean,
I guess so.
But he pulled it from so far.
Yeah.
And he was like on the run. It wasn't a traditional shot.
Yeah.
Net.
I would still argue that over the Kentucky shot.
Wow.
Really?
Kentucky shot.
I
That
would
guy had to shoot it.
That's
What
true.
I'm saying.
Chase Johnson
Banked it in too,
Yeah, Chase Johnson just pulled up and had the confidence and pulled that thing.
In an 8-point game.
Yeah. And it was, if he doesn't make that, like Wisconsin was kind of running away with it.
Right,
at that point
yeah.
in the
They
game.
had just scored, no?
Yeah, Wisconsin had just scored.
They scored like a 2, and he came
make it
down.
8.
Trailer.
Yeah, and I love the call from the announcer too when he shot it. He said a mile out because it was. I mean, it's like, you know the expression like you couldn't throw it in the ocean if you were standing on the beach. You threw it in the ocean when he couldn't see the ocean.
John, thoughts on this High Point upset real quick?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we all picked High Point, and it's because they do the things you need to do in March well. They force turnovers a lot. They rebound the ball. They do the traditional things you need to win. And Wisconsin, like you said, they're a good team. A lot of people said, like, oh, High Point's a team I would normally pick, but they're just, Wisconsin's just too good. They're too hot right now. But High Point, they show that they showed they have what it takes, and I think the coaching was a big part of that. You saw the locker room speech. Charles Barkley wanted to get out there. He's like, I have one more year of eligibility. I want to be out there for High Point. I mean, it was just an electric win. It was crazy.
And speaking of post-game stuff, the High Point coach made it a point saying, hey, mid-majors, we have a scheduling problem because these big schools don't want to play us. And it hurts our resumes. It makes their resumes stronger because they get to play whatever teams they want. And it's hurting the sport overall. So I'm glad that he was able to get on a platform after a big win over a Power 5 program or a high major program and vocalize just how big of a problem that is for the mid-major schools around the country.
Well, and speaking of Charles Barkley, did you hear what he said on the matter? He said he's going to call Stephen Pearl and he's going to call their AD and say, we're playing High Point next year. So,
I don't know if that would go too well for Auburn at this point.
yeah, I agree. But he guaranteed it to us that they would play High Point.
The Charles Barkley guarantee, you can cash that at the bank, you know?
Yeah,
Yep.
All right, another upset though. VCU takes out North Carolina, and what was a comeback win for the Rams. You know, two Ram schools played each other. I didn't even realize that at the time.
Yeah.
You got Tar Heels versus the
barely
Rams.
a Ram school.
Oh, come on, it's the Tar Heels. That's what they're.
If you ask a random person on the street, what's a Tar Heel? They say,
I didn't know that was Ram.
UNC's mascot? I don't know.
That's messed up, guys. Y'all see the mascot? Whatever. Anyways, VCU is down by 19 in this one in the second half. I was in class watching this game as the comeback unfolded. The professor was like, hey, what are y'all doing? And I was like, are you not watching VCU? You don't have that on your computer? It was an electric game. His name escapes me.
Terrence Hill Jr.
Terrence Hill Jr.
Off the
35 off the bench. The step back three for the win. Also, just electric
that was
stuff from
cold,
VCU. Yeah, I mean, I think VCU was the better team. I don't think it was a fluky comeback or anything like that. VCU played poorly, and I think overall they are a super solid squad that could give Illinois some problems here in the second round.
I absolutely agree with that, and obviously I want to highlight the obvious with Caleb Wilson not playing for UNC.
Of course.
You kind of expected that they might have trouble closing out a game. Like when your one star there is out, you kind of have to expect that. And then when you have somebody just get that hot, what do you shoot, 7 of 10 from three, Terrence Hill from VCU?
Yeah.
And then they went on a 12-0 run and span of 3:15 between the under 8 and under 4 timeouts in the second half. So the absence of Caleb Wilson was apparent in this one for sure.
Yeah.
I think it was just like, the guard play was a big difference. Usually with UNC, they have some elite guards they could lean on with Caleb Wilson out maybe. But this year, like Seth Trimble maybe. I mean, they have some decent guards on the team, but Terrence Hill Jr. was just way better. I mean, VCU, it was only a 2.5 point game before the game. It wasn't that big of an upset. I had VCU. I thought that they were the better team going into it. So it was just, they played well, and the comeback was crazy, though. I mean, I was watching it before Sports Zone on Thursday. It was crazy.
I think y'all hit it on the head, right? VCU came out, and they came out a little sluggish, and then once Terrence Hill got it going, whenever you have a guy that's that hot and you know you have a dependable player, especially at guard, who can make 3 points instead of 2, gets the entire team going. And actually, in my bracket, I chose them to beat Illinois as my little, my little upset pick, your little vibe pick. But Illinois went out and put up 105 against Penn.
Yes,
so
they did.
I don't know how confident I'm feeling in that, but it would have won for VCU, and I'm glad to see that happen.
VCU isn't Penn though.
That's right.
That is very
VCU is
true.
not
That's
Penn.
right. They're not the Quakers. They're
play
not the
what,
Quakers.
I didn't even know Penn was the Quakers.
Respect for Ray McCaffrey and the Quakers.
Penn had a great Ivy League championship game, though.
Yes, they did.
That was a
T.J.
great
Power.
finish. Yeah.
Another upset, though, Texas takes down BYU and A.J. DeBonsa. A.J. DeBonsa tried everything he could to will BYU to win 35 points in an effortless fashion. I was reading some of the stuff from some of the Texas insiders recapping the game, and they were saying that the way that A.J. DeBonsa looked against Texas is how Kevin Durant looked when he was at Texas. Just someone that was forced to play a year of college basketball, but that's an NBA level player. That's just so happens to have a BYU jersey on. I mean, he scored from all 3 levels. He got to his spots whenever he wanted to. Double teams, made the right decisions, and sometimes just scored over everyone. It didn't matter though. It wasn't enough. Texas comes away with the win. An electric 3-point shooting night for the Horns. BYU on the other hand, they go ice cold, 4 of 22 from the 3-point line, and that's really what did him in this game. Robert Wright needed to have a big one to kind of be that Robin to A.J. DeBonsa's Batman, and he just wasn't. And because of that, Texas squeaks away with an upset win, and they got to face Gonzaga in the round of 32.
This is another game where the injuries might have played a part, because Richie Saunders, if he's out there for BYU, that gives them another reliable scoring option outside of A.J. DeBonsa who can shoot the ball. And if they're not cold on that, it's a way different game. So I think that was a big difference. But with Texas, you have jump shooters like Dalen Swain. You're going to make shots, and that showed up in this game.
Yeah.
Did you see the Sean Miller soundbite whenever they were? They said, "Coach Miller, AJ already has 14 points and it's halfway through the first half. What are you guys going to do to try to slow him down now?"
I don't think we can.
Think you can. You can tell that the reporter wasn't ready for that. But seriously though, can we talk about the vocatitis free throw issue? for a second?
Oh, speaking of, Matas went 14 of 14 earlier in the game this year, broke the school record for most free throws made in the game, and then he goes, what, 3 for 11?
3 for 11, and I think he missed 7 in a row.
7 in a row to end things. I mean, he almost became unplayable at the end of the game. Sean Miller almost had to take him out.
Because he was getting all the rebounds, and this play right here, had he blocked it a little bit like less hard, like he did not slap it as hard, and he got his own like block.
They would have fouled him?
Yep. Missing 2 more free throws,
But yeah, right there, that block was huge because they elect to keep him in the game. Sean Miller says we're going to keep him in the game, and then he gets that defensive stop. I think that showed just a lot of belief in the coaching staff of Texas and Matas Volkatitis. This was a guy that didn't play a lot at FAU last year, and then he transfers over to Texas, and he had really high expectations, and he's lived up to them this year so far, I believe.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And although he did shoot poorly from the free throw line, he did have 23 points and 16 rebounds, I think. So not a bad game, just not the most efficient game from the line.
So there was a game that looked like it was an upset in the bag. Santa Clara had the lead, 2.4 seconds. I picked Santa Clara. Carson, sounds like you picked Santa Clara as well. Yeah, I mean, this is March. I mean, this is the epitome of March. Otega Owe goes down, banks in the half-court shot as the Santa Clara coach is screaming for a timeout, running down the sidelines, trying to call it. They didn't elect it. This, in my opinion, was an officiating disaster class from the start. You had multiple inadvertent whistles. You had Otega Owe traveling in overtime after the block shot by Garrison. Then you have the coach screaming for a timeout and it not being acknowledged. I mean, as a referee, you have to be aware. Carson, you ref games. You ref games. Would you ever?
A very high level game.
Would you? A very high level. I mean, we're talking rec league championships.
Intramural.
We're talking
Intramural championships.
frat boys who have never played before.
And give us the wisdom.
Some of those frat kids. Okay, I think during the entire game, the officiating was definitely very questionable. Oh, this shot is insane. I'm not gonna stop for this. I was in my room and I woke up like 2 of my roommates saying, oh, because that Santa Clara 3 was all net. I was like, wow, this is March. But you know, with March, every half-court shot, you're like, hang on, it might go in, and it went in. But speaking of the officiating, in that situation, I watched it back. The coach waited a cool 2 seconds before he called timeout. At that point, as a ref, you're looking at the coach seeing if he's calling timeout, and then you're trying to get up the floor to try and cover the play. So I don't want to say he didn't call it on time, but like you got to think after that 3-pointer, it's loud in there. So I'm gonna defend the refs on that part.
Sticking up for the refs.
Because think about it, as an official, if someone makes a shot like that, you would expect them to call timeout immediately. The Kentucky coach or the Santa Clara coach did not do that, especially after your own made basket.
Right.
And you just hit a 3, you're probably like, okay, just stay solid. Don't allow a half-court shot to happen. There's only so much you can talk about. So
yeah,
I wouldn't, you know what I mean? I wouldn't blame the refs too much on that part. But whenever it was like that, like you guys are March Madness officials. Like as an official, I want to be able to be there one day. You know, that was that environment. Let the basketball team with that. Or the basketball environment.
He sticks up for the refs so that he can be buddy
he's
with them,
trying to,
so that one day he can work at the, no, Carson, it's cool. You don't have to say anymore. I get it. That makes sense.
No. But I mean, I had Santa Clara. I should be upset. But I'm just saying in that situation, why you not call a timeout immediately? Why are you know what I mean?
No,
that shot,
I understand.
That's an insane shot no matter what. But if the whistle's like, come on, let's know what we're doing throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah.
Awesome game though.
Absolutely. Coming up next, we are going to break down the women's bracket, the women's tournament. We haven't been able to touch on it all year, so coming up next, we'll break that down and more here on Mean Green Mania.
Yes, Jibber Jabber.
Jibber Jabber is a man on the street NTTV show for Instagram that's in its 7th season. With 2 hosts, 1 comfy chair, and a Would You Do Something bowl.
Pretty much the gist of our show is that we're going to be inviting UNT students, all of our lovely family over, and we're going to be talking to them. And when we run out of things to say, we're going to ask them,
would you do something?
I think we're ready to do something.
Fortnite son or Minecraft daughter?
Hola, ardilleros! We're NTTV's longest-running Spanish entertainment show, and we're all about culture, creativity, and community in Spanish. Vámonos.
Property Brothers have won.
Welcome back to Mean Green Mania. I'm your host, White Shot, joining alongside Houston Hall, Carson Stark, and John Phillips. And we can talk about the women's bracket here today. And we haven't been able to talk about the women's basketball a lot. We talked a little bit about the Mean Green basketball team specifically. They got bounced in the conference tournament. First, let's actually talk about that really, really quickly. UNT women's basketball loses kind of in disappointing fashion. I think the season as a whole was a little disappointing for head coach Jason Burden. It was a squad that I thought coming into this year could compete for an American Conference Championship. And, having Rice in the way was always going to be tough. But just overall thoughts on the women's season this year.
Well, it was a little disappointing for sure, but, losing to Rice is obviously very difficult. But then, Rice didn't even win the conference. UTSA got them
right.
in the conference championship there. But, at the end of the day, you win the conference, and what's your prize? A date with UConn.
That's true.
To be fair, I think UConn would have been higher than, or I think UNT would have been higher than a 16 seed by a little bit. I think we would have been a 15 or a 14, to be honest.
What do you think Rice would have been?
Rice would have been probably a 12.
12.
Yeah, they were not in at-large discussion, but they were like kind of the fringe where you're like, if the bubble was weak this year, maybe, but. Yeah, I mean, this year you have to talk about Megan Nestor, set a lot of program records for rebounding. She was elite, but it's disappointing. In the UTSA beating Rice in the conference championship game, that puts I would have been okay with it if Rice makes the tournament, but UTSA winning, I mean, that proves that they are beatable. And the fact we lost to them 3 times in the same season, all close games with the talent we had, and Jason Burden, who I think is an elite coach, it's a tough pill to swallow for me. It's tough.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't realize that one of our good yards last year, Ariana Hardaway, transferred to UTSA.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
what a snake.
Yeah.
There was somebody on Thursday Sports Zone talking about, I love UTSA.
Go
and I was
UTSA.
like, what are you doing?
Conference solidarity.
Yeah. Birds up. Birds up.
No, put that
2-0.
down. Put that down. You're already a USF fan.
For real, USF, UTSA.
And you're UCF Bulls.
Houston, if y'all just got the worst mic pop of all time, it's Houston's fault.
But for our girls, I'm glad that it's with women's basketball, they come back usually. So hopefully our entire team doesn't transfer. We obviously want Megan Nestor to come back and do some work. But it was disappointing. But I don't think we should hang our hats too much on it. We have a lot to look forward to.
And it's still better than the rest of our program's history. I mean, this UNT program, Jason Burden has 2 of our 4 or 5 20-win seasons ever. So, I mean,
hopefully we're on the rise.
We are on the rise. We are on the rise. Hopefully we're
yeah.
even more on the rise and we can go to the next level and win some, conference tournament games.
Absolutely. Shout out to UTSA and the 2-0 representing San Antonio.
That's why they got the worst mic pop.
You go to
Absolutely.
Race baiting, bro.
Dirty Birds up. All right.
Dirty Birds up. Good Lord.
Dirty Birds.
Watch, we're going to lose in the Alamo Dome next year in football. It's because of you.
The Alamo Dome's nice. Okay. Yeah. In the women's bracket, though, chalk held for the most part. All of the higher seeds won. All the favorites won. We had a couple of close games, a couple of scares. But first, I do want to highlight the individual performance by Olivia Miles for TCU. A triple-double, 14 assists, 16 rebounds, combining those for 30. I mean, that's electric stuff. What was the stat that you told me in the pregame show? I'll let you say it on air, John.
She was the first player to have 30 rebounds and assists combined in men's or women's tournament history since Oscar Robertson, since the Big O. I mean, that type of impact on a game, it's crazy. And, Hannah Hidalgo gets a lot of the headlines. Olivia Miles was at Notre Dame and was arguably better than Hannah Hidalgo when they were both there. And I think this game, she showed it. It was an elite performance. She impacts the game in so many ways that aren't scoring. Because, I mean, she only had 12 points. It wasn't an elite scoring performance. But when you get so many rebounds and assists, you just, you impact the game so heavily.
Yeah, absolutely.
And building on that, like you were saying, she didn't necessarily have an elite scoring performance, and it wasn't the most efficient scoring performance either. That's okay when you also have Taylor Bigby go for 27 on 7 and 9 from the 3-point line. You can sit there and kind of just dish out and get the rebounds and drop in your little 12 and 14 points. And TCU could potentially make a run with those two playing that way.
Yeah, I want to speak on Olivia Miles a little bit more. Whenever you can really leave your fingerprints on the game in that many aspects, especially at the college level, you don't see too many triple doubles. But having 16 rebounds and 14 assists, of course your teammates have to make shots. But for her to have 12 points only, but have a prime Jamon Green-esque game, it's something that's really key for the Horned Frogs and why, like Houston said, they might be able to make a run.
Yeah, and then in the first 4 in Oklahoma City, you had Virginia beating Arizona State. Arizona State, we were talking about in the pregame show, kind of a feel-good story this year. They had the coach from Grand Canyon come over and really turn that program around really, really fast. They got 24 wins on the season, but they fall by 2 to Virginia, so Virginia will advance and be on that 10 line. But Arizona State, though, just hats off, a phenomenal year. John, you were talking a little bit about that turnaround.
Yeah, Molly Miller, she's an elite coach. I mean, at Grand Canyon, she had immediate tournament success. She goes to Arizona State after they had, I believe, an 8-win season last year, and there were a little bit of, skepticism if it would translate to the Power 5 level. And then, she gets them to the tournament already in her first year, even though it is a loss in the first 4. To have that quick a turnaround, it makes you really confident in the future of the program for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, chalk held for the most part. I mean, looking all around, favorites win. Michigan wins, NC State wins, Texas wins, Oregon wins. We were talking about this earlier, how the gap between the top-rated 1 seed and the field is just so much larger in women's basketball than it is in men's basketball. Like in the round of 32, I feel confident that a 9 seed or an 8 seed has a realistic shot to beat the 1 seed in that region.
This year, I don't know. I mean,
this year it's going to be skeptical. I think Utah State can push Arizona a little bit. I think TCU can push Duke around a little bit, but I'm just saying, like, there's realistic chances in the women's bracket. I mean,
even in
you're
those
looking
cases,
at like 25
though,
point spreads.
if like the one seed for in the men's bracket just like has a bad shooting game, like they could lose to anybody, versus where I don't even know if that's possible. Like the only 1-16 matchup in the women's bracket that's happened so far is Texas, and they're playing Oregon, who's an 8 seed, the 26.5 point spread.
Like, that's crazy.
Like, we were talking about the other 3 ones that haven't played yet. Their spreads are over 50 points. Like, you don't ever see that in men's. And I think that part of it is because the women's game is at a point where you're starting to see generational players like Juju Watkins and Caitlin Clark come in. So the 1 seeds are better than they ever have been.
Yeah.
But the rest of the field hasn't caught up yet.
Yes. That's exactly right.
Because with the women's game, we saw a 16 seed beat a 1 seed way before the men's game. It happened in 1998. Stanford lost to Harvard. So I mean, the upsets happen early, but the generational players are making it to where UConn, UCLA, these teams, Lauren Betts. I mean, these teams are so good at the top where it's really tough for these 16 seeds now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
I also want to say just with women's basketball in general, it's a lot more team oriented because there's not as much like there's not dunking or anything like that.
There's not a player that can just like take over.
Like
so
it's a lot. So whenever it's probably how James Naismith wanted basketball to be played. A lot of passing, a lot of action off the ball, and there's not as much other silly stuff that men's do when they're playing basketball. So I think whenever you have such a team that's that strong, and then they're taller and they have just more experience together, that's why I think women's teams usually stay together longer, less transfer. So whenever you have that with those higher seeded teams with talent, also it gets you in real trouble because there's only so much you can do as a lower seed whenever they're just clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Building on what Carson said with it being more team oriented and how they're staying together longer. They're staying in college longer because for certain reasons there's not as much incentive to leave after 1 year.
Yeah.
So you have your best players are 22, 23 years old. So there's a lot more experience in team building and that type of thing.
Yeah, John, I like what you were saying about how like in the 90s you had like the 16 and the 1. I think because there wasn't as many levels, or the levels weren't as far apart. The gap was shrunk a lot between the elite and the field. And now the elite is just so much better than the field. It's going to take a while. See, I've always had this theory that like in men's basketball, this was pre-NIL, that we were going to see more and more 16 seeds and 15 seeds win every single year because the talent floor was continuing to raise and the ceiling had kind of been reached already. Like you're only going to get so many elite. Like you can only be so elite, but the floor can consistently get better. Then the NIL era happened and you had players leave everywhere. But I think that you really saw there pre-NIL where the lower seeds were starting to catch up to the high majors a lot. And I mean, that's when we saw some of our most chaotic tournaments. I mean, like with UMBC and then I cannot remember.
FDU.
Yeah, FDU. Oh, that was NIL era, wasn't it? Or was that right at the beginning?
I think that was.
It was early on.
I think it was the first season.
The 23 tournament, because that was the year that FAU went to the Final Four. That's why FAU went to the Final Four.
That's
right. They got 16 seed.
That's right.
Fairleigh Dickinson in the
That's
second
right.
round.
I remember everyone hated FAU after that because it was like a physical game and people didn't like FAU. But in the first round of the women's bracket, there, like I said, a lot of blowouts. Michigan State, Colorado was close, 65-62. That was a really good, entertaining game. But besides that, man, just a lot of blowouts in this one. Maryland and North Carolina will face off in the second round as a 4-5 game. A game that I'm really excited about is TCU and Washington, a 3-6 game. Like you said, this TCU team is really talented, and it's a team that maybe could make a run deep into this tournament and knock off one of those 1 or 2 seeds.
And Washington, you talked about it, the NIL era, a lot of players, a lot of player movement and stuff, but Washington is kind of the exception for a Power 5 team nowadays. A lot of high school recruits, they didn't lose any players from their team last year to this year, so they have that experience, but I think TCU's talent, I mean, we talked about Olivia Miles, and I think that she is going to be the best player on the court at all times versus Washington. I think it's going to be too big a gap for them to overcome.
Yeah, but Avery Howe is a heck of a player for Washington. She had, 30 points on 7 of 13 three-point shooting? That can win you a game.
In a game that a lot of people picked as an upset. South Dakota State is a mid-major team that's really dangerous. They have a history of success, and a lot of people thought they could give Washington some problems. Then, Avery Howe just blew the doors off them,
And she had 9 rebounds as a guard. That's really impressive, too.
Yeah.
We talked about this when we were talking about the men's field as well. A team that just, gets hot shooting can really make a run. And when you have shooting like that, and with Taylor Bigby from TCU, like those are some teams you got to watch out for, and it's exciting to see them clash early on.
Yeah, a game that was really good in the first round was Baylor and Nebraska. That was a 6-11 game that came down to the wire. Once again, a 5-point game. The Baylor team's really good. I think that Baylor is going to be able to compete with Duke. They got Duke in the second round for the 3-6 matchup. As we have some highlights here of that Baylor-Nebraska game. But I think that this Baylor team, they can give Duke a run for their money.
Yeah, Nebraska's a talented team. I mean, we saw in the first four, they blew out Richmond, and that had some people interested in them against Baylor. But Baylor, they are a really talented team. I think Kirsten Johnson, even though she had a rough game versus Nebraska, I think she's talented. I think they have a lot of pieces. I do think Duke, though, ultimately, I think Carl Lawson's an elite coach, and I think that Duke is going to ultimately take that game.
Yeah, I have to agree. But going back to that Baylor-Nebraska game, it was a really close game. But thing that we talked about earlier with shooting, Baylor hit 5 more threes, and they just shot it more efficiently on their 21 threes. They both had the same out. Baylor hit 9, and Nebraska only hit 4. Nebraska hit 9, and Baylor hit 4. So Nebraska actually shot the ball better than Baylor, but Baylor was able to get the game. They out-rebounded them by 10 rebounds. So whenever they get down, a lot of those were offensive rebounds, second chance opportunities for Baylor to have, and those things just can't happen if you want to be able to win those close games.
Yeah.
Highlighting the team orientation as well for Baylor. 4 out of 5 starters got into double digits in scoring, and that's another way that you can win games in March is playing as a team and not necessarily relying on one person. We've seen with some of the men's teams, like, with AJ and everything, he can score a lot of points, but sometimes it doesn't translate to winning. You get 4 or 5 girls that are all able to put some jelly in the donut and spread the love around.
That's your go-to.
Yeah, it is.
You love it. I do too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I say it, because you guys love it. But
Y'all actually eat jelly donuts though?
No.
Cream
I've
only.
never had
I have
Cream
before.
only in there. I love cream in my donuts.
Come on.
I've never
Well, I
had.
can't say that she put some cream in the donut.
I've never had a filled donut before.
Oh,
in my life.
You're missing out, man.
What's the point?
An
Glazed?
eclair? No, an
thank you.
eclair with cream in it, bro.
That's why you're in such
Now
good
you're
shape.
saying fancy words.
Right.
A long
Flair.
john, a long
No.
john.
Those are
topic. We're over
good.
here.
Those
Oh
are
yeah,
good.
sorry. A game that we wanted to highlight though was Minnesota versus Green Bay. The final score is not indicative of how close this game was. John, you were excited to talk about this one, so I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota is a program that's been in a really rough spot for a lot of years. Lindsey Whalen, a program legend, takes over, and like you said, the final score, 17-point game, doesn't look close at all. But going into the fourth quarter, Green Bay had a 4-point lead, but then the home court cooked because in women's basketball they host in the first round, and the barn was cooking. It was crazy. The energy was insane, and Minnesota blew them out in the fourth, 30-9 in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was absurd, and I really enjoy seeing programs come out from, a rough period and do something like this, so I really enjoyed this win.
Yeah, the home crowd really got into it. I think it's kind of interesting, and the men's bracket will never really inherit this because of how, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But even we saw in college football how, teams get a first-round home game, and the energy and the electricity is just so different. Like, it's what college sports is all about. Not to knock the men's tournament.
Yeah.
I am knocking the men's tournament.
You are. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think first round hosting on campus, I think it does something for the game that you like. The men's, it gets electric, but you really don't see it like you do in the women's game, like you do in college football. I think that I really enjoy the hosting the first round games on campus.
But the money is going to be an issue because it's like hosting cities and all that. Like, think about it.
They're never going to change.
Because if it was in Dallas, I think everybody would probably try and make a first round game because it's March Madness. But I really like how Minnesota's crowd got into it, even though they were down. The energy can gotta be down if you're expected to win this game by a decent amount, and you come out sluggish. But they came out 30-9 in the fourth quarter, so they took care of business.
See, Minnesota shot 40% from 3 as well. Again, we keep harping on that. Teams that get hot from 3 can make runs in March, and that's why. What'd you say? They outscored them 30-9 in the fourth.
30-9.
So yeah, and you're able to shoot that way down the stretch. So look for Minnesota to make a run in this tournament.
Yeah, that makes me confident for them to do it when it matters most. Because a lot of teams shoot well in games in the first round, but they're blowing out teams. But shooting when it matters most, when you're down, I think that shows a lot for their character and the coaching that Lindsey Whalen has done for the team.
Yeah, you talked about the on-campus environments and how good they are. I want to call out Texas because they had a horrible environment for their first round game. Now I understand it's a first round game against Missouri State.
But come on.
But show out.
It's the tournament.
It's the NCAA tournament. You're a 1 seed. You're one of the best. Who was the number 1 overall seed? UConn?
UConn, yeah.
And then Texas was
Riggs,
Texas.
UConn should not have been the overall.
Who was the number 1 over? Or do you know the order?
I believe it was UConn, I think UCLA ended up being 3rd. They should have, but I think it was South Carolina.
Was Texas the last one?
I think so, yeah.
I think Texas is also on spring break right now, so maybe that's their.
I don't
They
care.
are. They are.
I don't care.
Great.
Okay,
now.
you know what? Actually, that's fair. People.
Yeah, because like on a Friday, it's like what the girls got.
We're going to the beach. The girls are gonna win. We'll come back
Get
to
lit
this.
and go to the game.
South Padre Island watching on their phone.
All right, but coming up next, though, we will preview the round of 32 in the men's bracket. So we're going to go back to the men's bracket. We'll preview the round of 32 and break down some of those games coming up next year on Mean Green Mania.
North Texas. Late night at North Texas.
World with peace and joy.
Tell me, Diva, what's the tea?
My Nisha drag is dumb.
The spirits have guided you to me.
I warned them that this was dangerous, but did they listen? No!
I've been having these dreams.
Welcome in.
This is part of the process, Eric. I only want what is best for you.
You want me to go on and on with the program until there's nothing left of me.
We are one now. Our goals are the same.
No, they're not.
Why should you join Talons?
We are very welcoming to people who may be a little bit hesitant. There's people currently right now in our organization who are in leadership positions who were hesitant before to join, and they found out that they just loved the organization and wanted to be a bigger part of it. They post about the football games, everything they're doing, all their events that they host.
What's the best part about Talons?
I would say meeting new people, because the university, while it's a kind of small campus in terms of like physical land, there's a ton of people here. And so getting to meet all these people who have so much school spirit and love for this university and wants to spread that to other people, it's kind of like a little miniature family that we're in.
Don't get your hopes up.
Is that it?
That's it.
Nothing can stop me now!
Yeah.
Welcome back to Mean Green Mania. I'm your host, Wyatt Shot, and I am all alone on this desk. All of my co-analysts have left me, and it is just me running the show. Finally, I get to talk about what I want to talk about, and I don't have to put up with them anymore. But they are right over here, and we're going to break down the South region first of the NCAA tournament. This was a kind of a chalky region, except for the two 10 seeds and the 11 seeds. But Florida, man, they just put it on Prairie View. Now, Prairie View was one of the worst teams in the tournament, but I mean, they didn't even give them a chance. No, they were just mean.
Did y'all see the quote the coach had? It was like during the like one of the interviews, and they were like, "Coach, you know they're on 18-0 run. What do you guys need?" And he was like, "Probably need some help from the Lord."
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that.
And they proceeded to not get help really from anywhere. But
well, first let's address the elephant in the room. Houston is holding a vacuum cleaner. We have a Stanley Cup, and we have some aluminum foil. You know how ESPN's got the fancy pointers and such? Well, we couldn't afford the fancy pointers.
Budget cuts.
Budget cuts, you know. Universities running out of money, apparently. So we had to resort to what we could to point at the screen. So we got, you know, this array of objects. So Iowa takes down Clemson in typical Iowa fashion. They wanted to play the slowest game you've ever seen in your life. Clemson kind of made it interesting there late, but Iowa dominated time of possession, and they just do what they do. They grind out games. They let Bennett Sturts dribble the ball until there's 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and then they put up a shot, and most of the time they score.
I think there were 0 fast break points in the game until like the very end of the game. So
yeah,
I mean, it was a very, very slow-paced game. But Bennett Sturts, I mean, if you have a point guard like that can conduct the show, I mean, you can play a slow-paced game. You can do that.
I actually think that game surprised me the most of any games in that region.
Really?
I do, yeah.
Did you think Clemson was going to win?
I did. I really thought Clemson was the better basketball team, and I know that, you know, VCU over North Carolina and A&M over St. Mary's were technically bigger upsets, but I just foresaw those two happening before I saw the Iowa win.
That's fair. I think A&M was probably the most surprising win for me, just because they were kind of rough at the end of the season. Yeah. I didn't believe in buckyball and St. Mary's. I should have known St. Mary's are chokers when it comes to March. I should have known. I believed in St. Mary's.
They lost to GCU that one year.
Yes, they did. Tyon Grant Foster, baby. Tyon Grant Foster.
St. Mary's just cannot perform when it comes to March, and Texas A&M, they got that win pretty easily.
Well, let's move down there then. Let's talk about the A&M game. So they take down St. Mary's in a clash of styles, really. St. Mary's wants to play slow, kind of similar to how Iowa does, where Texas A&M and Bucky Ball, they want to run and gun a little bit. They want to take the ball out of the net and they want to go score, and whether it's transition or secondary transition, they want to go. And I thought most of the time as a principal, I will take the slower paced team when you have these kind of matchups, especially in March on neutral courts. I think that the slower paced team can control the tempo of the game, and it'll make the faster paced team a little uncomfortable having to try to score so much in the half court. This was not the case in this one. A&M jumped out to an early lead, and that's what you have to do if you're one of these fast-paced teams. You have to get out to an early lead so that teams like St. Mary's can't just sit on a lead.
They have to match your tempo.
Yes, exactly. So A&M jumped out to a quick lead, and it was it was over at that point. St. Mary's never really made this thing competitive throughout the entire game.
Yeah, St. Mary's just didn't have the shot making to compete with Texas A&M. I mean, like you said, they got out to a really fast start, and that's what the fast-paced schools need to do, or else you have no chance. You need to have great shot making, and St. Mary's, it was rough.
Yeah,
I really think the catalyst for that game was A&M's Rashawn Agee. He's shooting like 20-something% from three on the season, but every now and then he'll come out and have like a 3 of 5, 4 for 6 from three game. I'm just glad to see he did it to somebody other than Texas this time, and he came out with 3 of 5 against St. Mary's, as well as 7-11 from the field, and he had like 22 points. And when he's on, A&M's a tough team to beat.
So real quickly, in this sub-region with Vanderbilt in Nebraska, that was a sub-region that a lot of people predicted a 12 upset or a 13 upset, and chalk held in both of them. Nebraska and Vanderbilt move on and to set up a really exciting game in the round of 32 between two electric offenses. How do y'all see this one playing out between Nebraska and Vanderbilt if you had to give a prediction today?
I think I take Vanderbilt, to be honest. I think Vanderbilt's the hotter team right now. The way that they, what I say 2 weeks ago, donkey slap Florida.
That's right.
In the SEC tournament. So the way they donkey slap Florida in the SEC tournament, and then compared to Nebraska, who was, I believe, 6-6 in their last 12 before March Madness. I just think that the wheels are falling off of Nebraska a little bit, so I'm going with Vandy.
Yeah, I got to go Vandy too. And I think they're going to have the best player on the court at all times, and he's shorter than Houston. I mean,
that is true.
Tyler Kaner is 6 foot tall, and we saw what he did versus McNeese. I mean, this is a talented player, and I think that having the best player on the court in March often gets you the games, and I think that that'll give Vanderbilt the win.
Yeah, for Vanderbilt, the Florida game in the SEC tournament where they donkey slapped the Gators. It sold it for me, and I actually have them advancing and beating Florida again to move on to the, what is that, the Elite Eight? The Elite Eight. So I'm very high on Vanderbilt. I think I wasn't too high on the SEC overall, but a guy like Tyler, man, he go up there, he really punched the ball. He's like 6 foot. So when you have a guy like that, like John said, best player on the court, that propels you games in the March Madness.
Carson, I'm going to stay with you. You got VCU beating Illinois in your bracket.
Yeah, I do. Am I confident in that pick?
Let's hear the breakdown.
Am I confident in the pick? Yes, because in the March Madness, when you pick your tournament, sometimes when you pick your bracket, you just have to go off the vibe. Don't look too far into it.
Vibe plays.
Keaton Waggler with Illinois, got some players. They got Paige Stojakovic's son. No, what does your vibe tell you? And VC, he's trash. Not caring, bro. VCU is beating. I don't feel too confident about it, but I was going to get my friend who I put $50 on our brackets, so I had to get some upsets, some games that are different, and hopefully VCU came out there and proved me right. If they lose, though, I won't be too upset. But I think they'll put up a good fight against Illinois in all seriousness.
All right,
I think I did see that was it Andy Katz that suggested everybody at least put one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Statistically, it's likely to happen. So could be the one.
It's a new brand of basketball, so we'll have to see.
That's true.
All right, let's move on to the next region, though. Let's see what we got. All right, we're in the Midwest. Miami of Ohio got bounced in this one. Tennessee really put it to them. Well, welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, I had Miami of Ohio that game. I thought they'd win, but the Tennessee athleticism and physicality was just too rough to handle. And Miami of Ohio, the Cinderella ends in round one.
They didn't play too bad, though. They actually kept the game not really close, but they played a lot better, especially in that first 4 game than I anticipated.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. In the first game, though, between Michigan and St. Louis, 2 teams that dominated in the first round. Now, Michigan actually, they messed around with Howard for a little bit. Now, they pulled away when it mattered. St. Louis, though, they dominated the whole way through. This is going to be a fun 1-9 matchup. I think that St. Louis got a really bad draw because they want to go through Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, what's the other? Milt Chamberlain and Robbie Avila. They want to run through him, but he's going to be matched up with Ade Mara. and Ade Mara.
The Michigan front court in general, they have Ade Mara, they have Yaxel Lindenborg.
Lindenborg.
They're going to have so many big, huge bodies to throw at him. I mean,
it's going to be tough.
It'll be really tough. But, I mean, with how they played against Georgia in the first round, you have to give them a chance. If you play that well against an SEC school, you have a chance against any team, even though I think Robbie Avili is going to struggle really bad versus Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michigan is not in my Final Four, but they will not. I don't foresee them losing this game. Robbie Avila, he played well. I saw a nice highlight of him spin move inside layup. I'm like, okay, Specs, I see you out there. Michigan's
okay, Specs.
Yeah, Specs. You got the glasses.
You're talking to Specs right there. Houston rocked the goggles.
I sure did. I sure did.
Oh,
I sure did.
I bet you were nice out there.
When Houston hooped, he rocked the goggles.
Horace Grant over there.
You should have worn them, bro.
Yeah, I should have worn them on the set today.
Yeah, you should have.
Should have.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, but Michigan's front court's far too dominant for St. Louis. But nice run, St. Louis.
Another sub-region that a lot of people predicted upsets is the Texas Tech and Alabama one. A lot of people liked Akron. I liked Hofstra a lot to beat Alabama. Didn't happen. Instead, we got a really exciting matchup, though, between two teams missing their star players. JT Toppin tears his ACL, and Aiden Holloway, unforeseen circumstances have led to him not being in the tournament.
He was eating a lot of broccoli.
Yeah, he loves his greens.
Right.
Healthy guy. And so Texas Tech and Alabama, I think it's going to be a fascinating matchup. I kind of lean Texas Tech.
I disagree. I think Bama's going to smoke Texas Tech. I think LeBaron Philon is elite. I think what he did versus Hofstra, he really willed Bama to victory. And I think versus Texas Tech, with no JT Toppin there, I think LeBaron Philon's going to go off.
Yeah?
No, I disagree.
Yeah.
Houston, say what you got to say, and then I'm going to say how I disagree.
I was actually going to lean Alabama just because in that first round game between Texas Tech and Akron, I'm not sure that people liked Akron. I just think they didn't like Tech without JT Toppin. I don't think that if JT Toppin was playing that anybody would have even thought twice about that 5-12 matchup. So I'm going to lean Alabama just because of the way that they kind of got hot towards the end of SEC play.
I think as a Tech fan, and this is why I disagree, I'm glad we're playing Alabama compared to some of these other teams because Alabama, they let Hofstra hang around just a little bit there in that first half, and they didn't play as efficient as I wanted them to. They have some great players, but, talking about, Alabama's guys, let me introduce you to Christian Anderson. This is a guy who's going to be a great, I don't know about a great NBA player, but he'll be a good NBA player. Christian Anderson, Donovan Atwell has been playing, has stepped up since the JT Toppin injury. A guy like Watts who goes out there and gives you good minutes. So I just think Tech, you got to be biased sometimes in March. There's always some small things. Like I said, we got to kind of just go off a vibe. You got to be a little biased. Go Red Raiders.
All right, let's move on to the next region. We'll see what we got in this one. I think we still have the Duke's region is up next. This is the region of Blue Bloods.
A classic March Madness region.
Yeah, really. And let's talk with two classic head coaches. St. John's and Kansas face off. Rick Pitino versus Bill Self. Darian Peterson versus just a conglomerate of stars that St. John's has, whether they're former stars like former 5-stars Ian Jackson and Dylan Mitchell. Texas Longhorn.
Why are you looking at me when you said Dylan Mitchell's
Because
name?
I know how much you love Dylan Mitchell, former Texas Longhorn, former Cincinnati Bearcat. But they got a lot of guys that can really play. Zuby Ejiofor is their star, and then Bryce Perkins as well.
Or as Gus Johnson knows him, Zuby Dooby Doo.
Zuby Dooby Doo. Thank you, Gus Johnson, of course.
Yes.
Just Gus Johnson said that. I like St. John's this one. I think this is the most underseeded team in the entire tournament. I can't believe that St. John's was a 5 after the way that they ran through the Big East. I know they struggled in the out-of-conference play, but, they still ended up 5-5 with quad one wins, and they went 22-1 in the rest.
I hate that everybody's using that bad loss against UConn against them because St. John's, that was the only time they lost to UConn.
Yeah, they beat them twice.
They beat them the other 2 times. So I would like to see St. John's as a 4 or even a 3.
Yeah.
I
like
like
in this game,
Kansas.
though?
I like Kansas.
Okay.
Darren Peterson is that guy. We saw him in round 1, and even though he's been inconsistent this year, when he plays, you cannot deny the greatness. And I think versus St. John's, I think he's going to go off. I think a 30-point game and a win for Darren Peterson in the bag.
Well, that's if he plays.
I think
if he plays.
I think in March, I know he's had the issues, but I think in March, I think Darren Peterson's the type of guy who's going to play through. I think he's playing every game in March.
His toe that morning.
No, yeah, John. I saw on Twitter. John Austin, stubbed toe.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm a Darren Peterson truther. I think that he'll play every game. He's only going to play one more game because St. John's is going to beat him. So he'll only have to play one more.
He'll play everyone.
All right, let's
load manage all summer after that.
Let's move on to the last region real quick. This is the one with Arizona in it and Texas out west. Utah State and Arizona is a game that I'm fascinated by. This Utah State team, I said it early on that they were also, I think they're the second most underseeded team in the entire tournament. They at one point were on the 7 line, and then they lost a game down the stretch, and it's like the committee just didn't care about it anymore, and they just threw him on the 9 line.
It's that mid-major deal where you lose
Yes.
a game and you drop like 7 seeds.
Yes, exactly. So unfortunately, they're tasked with playing Arizona, but man, this team can run. MJ Collins is electric. They got some players that can really play. But I want us to talk about High Point in Arkansas. Who in the world is going to win that game? Because both of these teams can score elite, and I'm just fascinated by this matchup. It's going to be so fun to watch.
I actually think that's going to be the most interesting matchup in that entire region because
this might be the most interesting matchup in the round of 32, if you ask me.
Probably, yeah, because you got High Point, like I was talking about. They have the answers to the Cinderella quiz. On the other hand, Arkansas is one of the hottest teams in basketball right now. Darius Acuff has gone for 30 in 2 of the last 4 games. He's had at least 24 in all of the last 4. What's that clip of Stephen A. reading off the points from James Harden?
He's averaging 40.
He's averaging 40. That's what I feel like whenever I'm looking at Darius Acuff's point totals for the season. So it's, the hot SEC team who maybe is a little underseeded, and then the biggest Cinderella story in the tournament matching up. I mean, grab your popcorn.
Yeah.
It's funny, you talked about a double-digit seed going to the Sweet 16. I think we're seeing it in this region. It'll be High Point or it'll be Texas, and they're kind of the opposite teams. But I think High Point's beating Arkansas. I think that they force a lot of turnovers, and even though Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff, they have that elite guard play, I trust High Point, and I think they're the best double-digit seed left. I think they're beating Arkansas.
Next thing you know, all our brackets are toasted by a white guy named Chase.
That's right. Mr. Johnson.
Logo 3 again?
Very, very quick. Texas versus Gonzaga. This is an interesting game. There's multiple people that have taken Texas into the Sweet 16. I think that if there's any 3 seed that they could be, it would be Gonzaga. So that's definitely a matchup you want to watch. Houston, do you have any thoughts on this? I'm a Texas guy.
Yeah, I do. So I talked to you about this a little bit before the show. I didn't like Texas' matchup in the first 4 against NC State. I didn't like the whole rematch. But after that, I kind of thought they got a pretty good draw.
Yeah.
I would have taken BYU over like the rest of the 6s. I would take Gonzaga over probably any of the other 3s. So Texas could be a second weekend team here after probably not should have been in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming up next, we will do exactly what we just did, but for the women's side of the bracket. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Mean Green Mania.
Evil lies here.
Go, 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 go.
Get that, get that. Be gone, evil spirit.
Welcome back to Mean Green Mania. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott. And talking about women's March Madness and the women's bracket, there's been a lot of news in women's basketball in general. The most notable, besides March Madness probably, is in the WNBA. They have reached new CBA agreements, new rules for the structure of their pay. And basically, WNBA players are getting a big pay raise. So as you can see right here on this graphic, in 2025, the minimum salary in the WNBA was $66,000. The average salary in the WNBA was only $120,000. The Supermax salary was sitting at $250,000, which is just minuscule compared to what the men make in terms of the Supermax. I mean, this is the most that you can ever make in a season. It's $250,000, and the team salary cap limit was what, $1.5 million. But now, if you move on to 2026 with the new agreement that they have, the minimum salary has been increased to $300,000. The average salary has been increased to $600,000. The Supermax has been increased all the way to $1.4 million, and the team salary cap has also raised all the way to $7 million. I mean, these are significant jumps. And I'm going to pass it over to my panel of analysts, and we're going to discuss it. Guys, what do you think that this means for the WNBA and how important it is just for women's basketball in general?
I mean, yeah, it's huge. We've seen an explosion of women's basketball recently in popularity, and it's good that they're finally catching up with the salaries as well because these players deserve more. We know that the Caitlin Clarks of the league are driving more revenue for the league than, $1.5 million salary cap. And I know in the CBA, they also got a lot of, accommodations for the players, and they lowered the Supermax age requirement, so a lot of players can get to that faster, like Caitlin Clark. She's eligible, I believe, next year for a Supermax now. So I think this is a great thing for the league.
Like we were talking about in B Block with the way that the ceiling of women's basketball players is so much higher than it was 5 to 10 years ago. And so I think you're going to start seeing this. I remember, a couple of years ago when I still went to UTA, and that's where the Dallas Wings play their home games, is on campus at UTA. And that's when, I was there whenever they had drafted Paige Beckers. The street was lined with cars. Every single time they had a home game, everybody was going to play there. I remember when Caitlin Clark came into town for the first time, where Angela Reese and Camila Cardoso with the Sky, everybody was wanting to see them play. So you're starting to see a lot more revenue, and they're getting paid more because of it.
Yeah, I think that's only going to get better too. And you're talking about how Caitlin Clark's eligible next year. She should have been eligible at Iowa. Yeah. Because she's done remarkable things for the game of basketball, and also other women like Angela Reese, who I think gets a little egotistical about her, and she doesn't give Caitlin Clark as much as credit as she deserves. But even girls who are coming in probably in the next few years, like Juju Watkins, it's just really the talent pool of women's basketball is just such on the rise. And it's really entertaining to watch, and it's just awesome that these girls are getting paid not even what they should, but it's getting to that point. It's a great thing to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Paige Beckers, Cameron Brink. I mean, there's a bunch of different players that we can just sit here and rattle off. Could we have sat here and rattled off WNBA players 5 years ago? The way that we just did right now.
I could have.
I know I couldn't have.
Candace Parker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just in terms of the non-WNBA and the non-women's basketball fans, we have so much more knowledge of the game because it is just more popular. And
even around social media, I remember I used to go on Twitter, Instagram, and the comments would just be clowning WNBA.
Yes,
nobody cares. I
can't dunk, lower the rim.
Yeah, all this stuff. Now, if you go in the comments, people are really engaged. I remember a few years ago in the WNBA finals, people were really caring about the playoffs and really tuned in and really watching. And it was great basketball, great crowd. So it's just an awesome thing to see how the world and the sports world is really starting to emerge and engage in women's basketball because there's some great players.
Yeah, they're wising up to it finally. I feel like. But with that, let's move on to March Madness and this bracket and break it down region by region. So we're gonna start in the top left. It's our favorite team, UTSA.
Yes.
Our favorite team.
Yes, we love UTSA. Go
yes,
Runners.
There we go. Yeah. John gets it. He gets it.
No, we're not. I'm surprised
we're not
on an orange tie or something this morning.
Come on, guys.
They're playing Wile E. Coyote in the next round.
I was at. Fun fact. I was at the first ever UTSA football game in the Alamo Dome in 2012.
You put that on your dating profile?
Yeah, it's on my LinkedIn. Anyways, they get the privilege of being smacked around by UConn in the first round.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that'll be handled.
Hey, they made it though.
Awesome. I mean, this says 34-0. I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
I do want to say though, UConn getting the overall #1 seed, outrageous. They did not deserve it. I get that they were undefeated, but if you look at the resumes themselves, UCLA 19 Q1 wins. Putting UConn over them is name bias and undefeated bias. UCLA should have been the #1 overall seed. They only had one loss. It's crazy to me.
Okay, well with that, let's take our 1 seeds. Who do we think is the first one to lose out of that group? We got UCLA, we got UConn, we got South Carolina, we got Texas. Who's the first one to lose out of that? Do they all make the Final Four?
I could see that, but I know it's a hot take. I think a certain Dawn Staley might be washed. I think that Dawn Staley might be cooked, and I could see someone in that region, especially TCU. We talked about them being a very talented team, and I could see that matchup. I could see that being the end of South Carolina.
Okay.
I don't hate that take. I mean, what you have to think about is with Texas and South Carolina coming from the same conference, Texas won that conference, and they beat South Carolina 2 out of 3 times. Then what you have to look at is who really has the tougher draw, and like he mentioned with TCU, South Carolina might have the toughest draw of all 4 regions. I haven't looked.
Vanderbilt with Michaela Blakes is kind of tough for UConn, but I think UConn is so talented that they're going to be able to overcome her scoring. I think that you're right that South Carolina might have the toughest draw. Plus, like you said, Texas beat them in the SEC. They weren't the best team in their own conference. I think that it could get dangerous for them.
And I think Texas has a pretty favorable draw. I'm not really looking at a team here that I think could really push Texas.
I will say I got to give some love to Michigan.
Yeah.
I think that Swords is an elite freshman. I think that we've talked a lot about the freshmen in men's college basketball, but women's has it too. And I think that Michigan is talented. Do I think they beat Texas? No, I think Madison Booker is ultimately too much. But I think they're my second choice. I think it's between the two SEC 1 seeds. I think UCLA and UConn both have they're both better than Texas and South Carolina, and they have better paths for me.
Yeah, y'all hit it on the head. I have to agree, but I'm just because Wyatt's a Texas fan, I'm just gonna say horns down. Texas is gonna lose. That's just going off of vibes. But no, realistically, I think South Carolina has a tough draw. I don't know if this is the year for them.
Let's address something. Why does Carson get to be an open Texas Tech fan, and I receive flack for putting on for UTSA in the 2-1-0? Dirty Birds up.
Because I don't talk about it all the time. Because Wyatt, you're also a USF fan. You're also
a
UTSA fan.
I'm not a USF
bro, you have
fan.
4 favorite teams.
That's not true.
Tech was my dream school, but journalism was what I wanted to do in life, so I chose UNT.
That's how I feel about Texas.
No, it's not.
It is. It really is. My room's burnt orange.
Okay, but that's not what you said. You said UTSA.
But that's because
you still have the USF tie on.
The hometown. This is a UNT tie.
That's USF.
That's not a UNT tie.
It's a UNT.
This is a UNT tie.
Yeah, that's a UNT tie.
Yes.
That is a bull tie.
Guys.
That is a mean green tie.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm losing this argument, so we're going to move on. Iowa State and Audie Crooks take on Syracuse in the first round. How big of an issue is Audie Crooks' defense going to be realistically? Because that is like the talk of the town for Iowa State, and rightfully so. I mean, the defensive effort for Iowa State and Audie Crooks is gone up and down all season long, but there's no doubt that she can score it, and she can score it at a high level. So is it going to be enough to get past Syracuse? And if they do, I don't think it's going to be enough to get past UConn regardless.
Yeah, I was going to say, in that 8-9 matchup, is the defensive problem? No, not really. I think Audie Crooks' offensive ability is going to be enough to propel him past Syracuse. But once you get to UConn and you look at all the offensive weapons they have, and you have Audie Crooks anchoring the paint,
scream!
It's going to get scary. It's going to get scary. I think UConn can have a lot of scores up into the double digits, up into the 20 points against Audie Crooks. I think it'll get scary versus them.
I'm not entirely sure that it's enough to get past Syracuse. I think that Syracuse can potentially spread the ball around when you have multiple people that can put it in the hoop like that. That's where that defense really gets dicey. Obviously, it's a big deal because they dropped to the 8 line. You know, they were at the start of the season, I feel like, predicted a lot higher than that because of how well she can score the basketball. But obviously, let me just use my vacuum a little bit more. If they're able to get past Syracuse, no way it's enough to get past UConn. Or,
Absolutely
God
not.
forbid, UTSA be there.
Pull off the upset.
Syracuse also does have 4 starters that average double digits, so that might be an issue for them whenever it's not like Audie Crooks, but they're moving the ball around. The other people are scoring. But I don't think it'll be that. I don't think Syracuse will defeat Iowa State, and I think the whole defense thing is just I know it's pretty bad. But but she puts the ball in the bucket, and at the end of the game, whoever has more points wins. So if you can just be good enough on offense, defense can be overlooked.
In this region, though, Maryland advances, North Carolina advances. We got Notre Dame and Fairfield. Anyone taking Fairfield in this one? Oh, okay,
actually,
let's hear it.
I want to give Fairfield some love. I think Carly Dubois is the best mid-major coach in the game. She grew up in the game. Her dad and her brother both coach in the WNBA. And I think that Fairfield is the best coach mid-major in that region for sure, in every region on the bracket. And I think Fairfield has a shot against Notre Dame. I think Hannah Hidalgo's a fraud. I think she's worse than Olivia Miles. Like I said, I think she was the better Notre Dame guard. And I think that Fairfield's pulling off the upset.
No, I don't think so. I think Notre Dame will take care of business against Fairfield. But, John, why is your favorite word fraud? Like, why is everybody going to be a fraud?
It's just easy to expose people when they're frauds. I mean,
you know what? I can't even hate on you too much.
You're a fraud.
I'm a fraud.
You're a fraud now.
You can't doubt a man with the Stanley Cup as a pointer.
In this bracket, though, we have a game going on right now. Ohio State taking on Howard. Currently, it is 33-17. At one point, this was a little bit closer, but it seems like Ohio State has pulled away here at the start of the second quarter.
Somebody point to where that game is for me. What region are we in?
We're in the top left.
Top.
We are over here.
Over here.
Right there.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought you said 4-13.
Moving down, though, if you go down to that region, bottom left, we got Clemson USC. That's an interesting 8-9 matchup. I think that one's kind of a gimme and a pick 'em at that point. Does anyone have a lean on that one?
I think that first I want to say it's impressive for USC to get to the tournament with Juju Watkins out the entire year. I think that they have a really good core for the future with Jazzy, with Juju Watkins. I think Clemson does pull this one out. I think that they're a little too injured this year at USC. But like you said, it is basically a pick 'em. I don't think any of the 8-9s are that. I do like Princeton in the 8-9 versus Oklahoma State up here, but I don't think any of the 8-9s are that, big of gaps between the teams. I think they're all pretty tough matchups.
I want to speak on how you spoke about USC. Jazzy Davidson leads their team in like 5 categories, and I think whenever you have a player like Juju Watkins who goes down, and you're able to be resilient and have a successful season, and have someone like Jazzy Davidson step up, that builds character and it's helpful in March. So that's why I like USC in that matchup.
The only thing that kind of makes me nervous about USC in that aspect of them having Jazzy lead the team in all 5 categories, she doesn't shoot it all that efficiently. Yeah. So I just kind of worry if maybe she's doing a little bit too much. She averages 17 points a game, but she's not doing it that efficiently, so I worry about that in that matchup.
Yeah, unfortunately, we spent a long time yapping, and we didn't get through it all. But don't worry, we will be back to discuss more of the tournament. But so far, or for now, that is it for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Mean Green Mania. For everyone that's been involved, thank you. We've put on a great show today. So thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week here on Mean Green Mania.